If someone asks you a question, are you just going to ignore it? Yeah. A lot of people ask me a question. I ignore them. If I've already given the answer, why would I repeat myself? The answer was already said. It's already on TikTok. Also, his question was, why was she unfortunately and tragically killed? How is that neutral? He's already bringing a judgment into the question. He's already asked the question and saying, I don't agree with this killing. This was unfair. This was not a good thing. How is that biased? How is that unbiased? How is that a neutral question? Can you tell me that? So her, who is very professional, by the way, in her, people are coming unprofessionally to her, and she's just doing her professional job, which is to be forward. And it's the first time I see her online, or ever. I don't even know who this person is. I just know that, man, she's done a great job. Because they're trying to paint her as something bad, as something that she's not. But they're biased. They already think that they messed up. They already think it's a bad thing, the journalist. If someone asks me a question, if I've already answered it, I'll say, go check my videos, it's already answered. Because I don't owe you anything. If I've already answered it. If not, and I can bring some light to the question, yeah. But the thing is here, I am not a reporter. I am not a journalist. My opinion has nothing to do on there. So his job as a journalist, when she asked the question, should have been said, why are you asking me this question? Because then she could have said, because your question that you asked me, which was, why was Miss Good unfortunately and tragically killed, is biased the fact that you think that this was unfair. And so therefore, no matter what we would tell you, even if we had the right reason, even if our agent did see something in her hand, even if blah, 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 then you would not believe me. And you would still paint this as unfortunate. Even though our agent said he had his reason to do it. You already know, and she did say, she answered the question. Go check it. You want to see what's the answer? Go check in the report. The 2 reports that are already out. The answer won't change. The answer will not change. As a journalist, if you go there, say, well, I'm not here to answer a question. I'm the one asking questions. Then you can ask her, what's your intent? It is his job to ask a question. But if he comes already saying, why was she unfortunately and tragically killed? He already has bias. You see, there's a difference between somebody asking you a question, somebody asking you a question as a reporter, somebody asking you a question to trick you and changing what you already said 5 times before. You gotta see the manipulation game. And he already manipulated. You gotta see also the manipulation in words, in the wording. And she was right to catch it. And if you can't see how she was right to catch is bias in the question, because as a journalist, you're supposed to ask open-ended question. Could you remind us what was the justification for the agent to have killed her? Could you let us know? Or right? But because he went and said it's unfortunately and tragically, he put a judgment. He put already a verdict, and he's not a judge. That is removing your emotion about it. As a human being who's seen the videos online, I'm like, man, this is shit. But as somebody who be professional and stepping outside of my ego, stepping outside of my emotion on there, I'm coming to get facts. Can you remind us what happened? Why? What was his justification? Period. For him killing. Then you're open and curious about what the agent went through for him having done that. But yeah, I've been having a lot of people asking me questions. And I've answered many times. I justified. And I'm like, I've already answered those questions. People are just like, yeah. No, putting the blade back in the wound. I'm like, fuck that shit. I've already answered the question. Go check the other videos. Now, if you can't go through all my 40,000 videos, that's on you. but the answer is already out there. And she said that, go check the 2 reports are there. As a journalist, your job is to go find the proper, the right documents. And she brought him to the right documents. Then that way, it won't be emotionally charged. Here's is what the report says. Then as a journalist, it will have to say, by reading the report, here's what is said in the report. So yeah, you have totally the right to ignore any question that are trying to catch you in repeating something that you've already said, but they don't want you to repeat it. They want you to say something else. They want to see, is she going to change the narrative? Is she going to do something? Manipulation, you understand that? But if you can't see that, that's because you don't understand manipulation and you're naive. If you don't see that his question was emotionally charged, already has a verdict, which is not biased. Because I can say from the video, I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. But as a professional, I would like, okay, what happened? What was his motive? What were the agent's motives? Not, why did he kill her tragically and unfortunately? Because from the agent's perspective, he was saving population. He was saving people. Because if he did, his brain saw maybe a lipstick in her hand and he thought maybe it was a bomb. You know what? Then if that person really had a bomb and just exploded her car, people would have been like, what the fuck? They were right there. They could have stopped it. There was no win. Because if she was a bad person, people would be blown and they would have been blamed for that. And now I can't say, I don't know the story enough to be giving my opinion on if she was really a good person or not or whatever. Okay, I don't know the person, so. But Shadow, that you have the right to not answer questions. Isn't it the Fifth Amendment? No, I don't know the U.S. amendments and stuff. Man, not that bad. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants the right against self-incrimination, allowing an individual to refuse to answer a question that could incriminate them in a criminal case. Yeah, this is like for a criminal case, but also, that journalist could have said, I'm not going to answer that because, yeah, I know that I already have a biased opinion, right? So privilege against self-incrimination, because she was right that he was biased and his answer proved that he was biased, right? You can refuse to answer a question if the answers might help establish your guilt in a crime. Here the crime being you're biased. You're not being professional. It's not a crime worth going to prison, but it's still not okay. And she just pointed out how he was not doing okay, right? So when it applies, when compelled to speak, he didn't have to answer. He did not have to answer. He chose to answer. When the communication is testimonial, a testimonial, he's there to do his job, not to testify. When the testimony is self-incriminating. So in a sense, the Fifth Amendment protects you from being forced to provide evidence that could be used to convict you. But he was never forced to speak his opinion. As a good journalist, he should have had a way to bring back the conversation to her, to the case, not to himself. He allowed her to take spotlight on him by not being a professional journalist who would bring back the attention to the case. So see, all that you bring for evidence shows his lack of professionalism as a good reporter. He allowed her to come and make it about him. What kind of journalist does that?